everyone, but welcome back to Let's Chat Reality. I'm Molly,
I'm Michael.
and today we're very excited to be talking about Love Island Season 7, just premiered last week, as well as a whole season overview and just mostly the reunion recap of Summer House. So, as that wrapped up, we started out Love Island. So, we've got lots of exciting things on the horizon here. But, Michael, how has your weekend been?
It's been good. Nothing too crazy or exciting. Had a very busy week last week, so just kind of been relaxing. Played some Blood on the Clock Tower earlier today, which was really fun for the first time. I don't know if any of our listeners have played that before. It's very similar to the Traders. I was the first one to be murdered in the middle of the night, so did not go great. But I really came in not knowing anything of what I was doing, so I learned a lot as I was going, and it was very fun still.
Yeah,
How
that
about you?
sounds
How was your weekend?
Well, I just got home at 3 a.m. From my traveling. I was on the East Coast for 10 days. So now it's nice to be back home, but it was really great to see a lot of my friends over on the East Coast. So it was fun just spending time with friends and family. But now, nice to be back to my routine again.
Yes. I'm sure nice to be in your own bed in Austin and for the first time in a while after a long trip like that. But
Yes, for sure. Well, let's get into Love Island. So we've had the first week of episodes, we'll categorize it as. So there's been a decent bit that's been happening. But just first, so overall, what are your thoughts so far in the season, Michael?
I've been really enjoying it. I'm really into it. Very quickly got invested. I think the premiere was long enough to be a feature film, but and it was delayed
Yeah.
for quite a bit. So that was a late night watching that. But I think the length of it also did really make me get invested very quickly in each of them. Like it was long enough that we really got to spend a good amount of time with all of them, so by the end of it, I was like, okay, I feel invested in each of their stories and them as a couples. And yeah, it's hard to, I think, compare it to last season just because last season was such a phenomenon that I feel like inevitably you're going to feel like, oh, I miss Leah. I miss, I miss all of them. But I think that still they did a good job of making us care about these people as individuals and not comparing it too much to last season. So I've really been enjoying it so far. What about you?
Yes, I agree. And yeah, being on the East Coast was not great for the way the timing works for that because it's an extra hour later there. But overall, I like that we also got to see just a lot about each of the people, and it made you want to follow their journeys more, and like just overall, like hearing about like certain couples and all that stuff. Like we have some people who knew each other, which we'll get into, which is an interesting factor into it as well. Which I thought, I was like, how did the producers know this or do they not? That's an interesting one for sure. But overall, I like the cast. I mean, except for one who already got booted off, but I like most of the cast. And so I'm excited to see where the season takes us.
Yeah, definitely. I'm agree. I'm excited to break it all down because a lot's happened in these first four episodes, and just so everyone knows, we're just going to be covering it the first up until Friday's episode. So that's how we're going to be doing this since we always record these on Sunday. There will be one extra episode that as when this comes out that will have dropped that we have not seen yet, so we are just covering this up until Friday, and then next week we will cover Sunday through next Friday, and so on and so forth.
Yes, for sure. Well, let's get into the original couples. So, first up, we had Ulissa and Ace. So, overall, what are your first impressions before you knew all the drama with Ulissa?
Well, I mean, I knew the drama with Ulissa before watching
Yeah.
the premiere, so I came into the premiere episode already not liking Ulissa for obvious reasons that are the reasons why she was not there for very long. But so it was hard to kind of ignore that and just enjoy her watching her on the show because I honestly kind of found her annoying on the show too. So that made it really easy to just kind of think, okay, I'm already out on Ulissa. Now, Ace, I like Ace so far. I think that my first impression of him was that just he, I thought his obviously his history with Shelley was interesting once we knew about that, and I think he's a very typical Love Island cast member. I feel like in a lot of ways, and I think I was like, okay, I immediately understand why he was cast. I like him. I think that he'll be kind of one of the ones who a lot of the girls the bombshells are going to want to be with and talk to. And so yeah, I was really hoping that he was going to get to be coupled with Shelley originally. I was really hoping that that was going to last, and then at the last minute Ulysses stole him away. But I am still interested to see how his relationship with Shelley kind of plays out the rest of the season, especially with Ulysses now out of the picture and the fact that he's single.
Yeah, for sure. It was funny when they just said, "Okay, well, Alyssa's gone now." Like, there's no real mention of anything else. Just she's out of the villa. Which also we weren't really seeing much of her anyways. I feel like they already were editing her out mostly, so that was good that we didn't really have to see her very long.
Did you
And
feel like in the premiere that they purposely like didn't edit her out? Because I honestly didn't notice that.
well, I was seeing some stuff on TikTok about that, like
Mm,
where's Yulissa? Is she even here? Like kind of thing, but I don't know. Maybe it was
interesting.
just because the other people were more interesting to cover anyways,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if it was.
No, that very well could be the case because, like, I mean, it was a day before. Like, they very easily could have. I mean, maybe that's why it was delayed. Maybe they were trying to cut her out. I don't know.
I feel
Um,
like the delay was more just because of the surge of people all trying to watch it at
that's
once.
very possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
that's very Love Is Blind season 4 reunion.
I know I was having
But
some PTSD. I was like, "Oh no, is this the same thing that's happening?" But I mean, it did come out eventually, at least, so that was good.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, we didn't have to wait till the next day, like the Love Is
yeah,
Blind reunion.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I agree. I like Ace. I think that he's a likable guy and just fun to talk to, and overall, I really do want to see him and Shelly together, just since they do know each other. Not, it didn't seem like they like really, really knew each other. It's more just like a couple DMs here and there.
Well, I
Um,
think they saw each other at a
at a
bar,
bar.
right? They
Yeah,
met at a bar, but he was not in the state that where he lives even. Like it was
yeah,
kind of this weird thing where like she met him, but like he didn't actually live there. And so they were like, well, we don't want to do this long distance thing. There's no point in like really making an effort here. So we'll just kind of like follow each other on social media and DM, but nothing really more than that happened until now.
yeah. No, so that's exciting. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen there. Well, speaking of Shelly, we can move into Shelly and Austin are the next couple that paired up because Shelly was taken away from having her chance to be with Ace in that first coupling. But she did choose to kiss Austin as well, so she was like, "Okay, like I guess this will work out." But it definitely seems, I mean, we already know this now also that they're more friends. They're not really interested in each other romantically, so at least they've gotten that out of the way early on. I think that's good that they're both like, "Okay, like there's nothing really to explore here, but they're still cordial with each other." And for me, Shelly and Austin do not make any sense at all. So like I'm glad that they also realized that. I'm like, why are they even together? Austin just kind of dumb in my opinion. And not the most entertaining to watch. On the other hand, Shelly is very entertaining to watch. So I really want her to find her right match. Maybe it's Ace, maybe it's someone else. But overall, it feels like Shelly is also a hot commodity because Charlie is also interested in Shelly. So she had three guys potentially all interested in her. But my vote right now is that it's going to be Ace. So those are my thoughts on Austin and Shelly. What about you?
Yeah. So Austin, okay, I kind of came in with a very similar perception of him to you, Ulyssa. For those who don't know, check his reposts on TikTok if you want to know where he stands politically. And so kind of came into the premiere already a little bit out on Austin as well, but he just feels to me almost like very low energy, very, I don't know, like I feel like he's kind of almost like scripting himself, or like not really, like his heart's not really in it yet. I feel like he's just very like trying to find someone just to kind of like be in a couple so that maybe he'll get more TikTok followers if he ends makes it to the end, like versus actually really like being into Shelly, who he's kind of set his sights on right now, and really like actually trying to make things work with her. I don't know. I just don't get the vibe that he's like was really that into her. And then obviously I don't think Shelly was that into to Austin either.
Yeah.
But Shelly, on the other hand, has someone, and I think an Ace, who really she is very into. And I don't know if she's, I feel like if I am really like kind of putting myself in Shelly's shoes here, I think that Shelly is really into Ace, but is worried that she is kind of um like making herself more into him because she has history with him. I think she's worried that like her history with him is clouding her judgment. Like maybe she's not actually that into him, or like maybe she is like kind of thinking, well, I had these reservations of the long distance relationship and all this before this, so what's changed? Like, I already made the decision not to pursue things with him romantically, and now like we're in this paradise villa, and is this whole situation clouding my judgment of this practically potentially working in the real world? So that's where I think maybe she's kind of like having ish like mixed feelings about Ace, but I really do think she likes him the best. And I think that she's really, really wanting to make things work with Ace. I'm glad that she kind of friend zoned Austin and is maybe kind of now deciding, okay, I'm not going to go in that direction because I just do not think that they had any chemistry whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that she's realizing that and can kind of maybe take him out of the equation a little bit in terms of pursuing things romantically. I don't know. I don't feel like things are going. I feel like Charlie has a lot of other people that he's kind of sets his sights on now, and I don't think that there's anything really that's going to happen there. So, in the end, I do think that she and Ace are going to at least give things a shot and couple up at some point.
Yeah, definitely. That just makes the most sense in my
Yeah,
opinion. But I mean, with Austin, he also was interested in the new bombshell that just came in, Hannah. So maybe I know Charlie was also interested in her, so there seem to be fighting over her now. But we'll have
yeah.
to
I feel
see.
like Charlie and Hannah. My guess is that they are going to couple up.
Yeah, me too. I
Because I
agree.
think like Charlie doesn't have anyone, Hannah obviously just came in, doesn't have anyone. Like I feel like that's an easy to just say like, let's give both of us another week here at least, even if this doesn't work out, so that we can both find our people if it's not each other, and we're not hurting anyone by like stealing anyone else's partner.
Yeah. No, I like them together because obviously, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really like Austin, so I'm fine if he goes pretty soon.
That's my
Um,
guess. I feel like he just screams first boot. And I don't know whether I'm thinking that he screams first boot in like a Big Brother type of sense. I feel like there's like this, on Big Brother they have this like kind of surfer dude first boot curse, and I feel like he kind of very much fits that. So I don't know whether that's kind of clouding my judgment in terms of him like just feeling like a first boot, but I just don't think that he's connected with anyone.
yeah.
And I just can't imagine anyone choosing to couple up with him or him choosing to. I don't know. I don't see it.
I don't either. So bye bye to Austin. Hopefully. We'll see. But next up we have Olandria and Taylor as a couple, which originally I was really excited for them to be a couple because we heard in Olandria's intro that she really wanted a cowboy. And then Taylor comes in in his cowboy hat and she's like, oh my gosh, like that's my type. And he's also into her. So it seems like they have been getting along really well so far. But they also are still going to be open, is what they told each other, which I think makes sense. It's like at this point early on, like you don't really know what's going to happen. Like, why are you going to close yourself off? It's been 2 days. Like, it's really not that much time. But I really
Yeah.
like Alondra. I think she's really fun to watch and has really great personality. And like overall she's just a fun person. And Taylor, he's like growing on me a little bit. Like at first I was like he's a little bit boring, but I think he's got more to him. He just hasn't really fully come out of his shell yet. But that's those are my thoughts. And they also both kissed other people during that like blindfolded challenge, so they also obviously are keeping options open with that in a sense too. But overall I like them.
Yeah, I really like them too. I think right now they are probably like the couple that I'm going to, I would bet makes it the furthest of these
Mhm.
original couples. I just I so far I don't see either of them with anyone else.
Yeah.
Like really, so I feel like at least like for the next couple weeks, unless some like bombshell comes in that just like fully breaks them apart, I just feel like right now they seem to be pretty solid. Obviously we saw Alandria be upset with Taylor when he stood up for the bombshell. I don't know what they called it, like the bombshell recoupling. But I don't think that was like an official recoupling. But he stood up to be recoupled with Sierra, but that obviously didn't work. So then came crawling back to Alandria, and she was a little bit upset with that. But then very quickly it seemed like got over it, realized, you know what, we're not, exclusive. We're both still very early on. We both have a right to explore other options. So I think she, very quickly got over that. What was interesting about that recoupling to me, though, was the interaction that Elandria and Hutta had,
Mhm.
where Hutta was very much like, oh, you girls deserve real men. And I'm so happy that Jeremiah did not stand up. Like, Brownie points to Jeremiah for that. And it kind of seemed a little bit, I don't know, like she was being almost like fake girl power y. And Alandria was like, "Oh, you don't have to do all that. We're not that upset, and we'll talk later." And then Hutta was like, "What are you talking about? Like, what did I say wrong?" So I thought that exchange was very interesting, and then they made up the next day. But I feel like a lot of people were talking about that little moment there.
Yeah, no, in the moment it did seem like, oh, are they gonna be friends after this? But it just was a miscommunication, because then when Alondria was talking about it later on with someone else, she was like, well, I just meant it like you don't need to say it right here. Like we can talk about this when the girls talk.
Hmm.
And so she didn't want Huda to be upset about it, because it wasn't her intentions about it. She wasn't trying to come at her. So at least they made up with that. But yeah, it was interesting. I was like, oh, some drama here. But
It really felt like it came out of nowhere in that
yeah,
moment where I was like, wait, do these two have beef? But
yeah,
then like I almost like originally I was kind of, when I first watched it, I didn't think that Hutta came across as being like fake in that moment. Like I just felt like she was kind of trying to like
hmm,
make the girls not be upset, because
yeah,
I guess she felt like they were all upset about their men standing up, and so she was trying to be like, oh, like don't even give them the time of day. Like if they're gonna, try to to surprise you and explore other options, and then you deserve better than that. But then when I like really thought about it and like heard other people talk about it that moment or whatever, then I was like, yeah, I can kind of see how like Hutta, being the one person who didn't go through that and had the man that stayed loyal, that like her of all people kind of like talking like that and being like, oh, like brownie points for you for not doing that, and then kind of saying like, oh, don't, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it, don't be upset about it, that like that would come across as like a little bit condescending. And I could see myself kind of being like, "Oh, like you don't understand like what, the rest of us are going through right now. Like don't try to make it seem like you understand that." So, I could kind of see it, if even if Alandria did express that she was upset about that, I could understand that. But I was glad that they smoothed it out because it just kind of seemed like a little bit of a misunderstanding on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that happens a lot though, and we get to see that more often in Love Island just because we get episodes every day except for Wednesday. So we get to see them like maybe have a miscommunication and a fight, but then like make up a day or two later and then they're okay. Which is nice, especially with the girls. I feel like they don't really keep on the drama for too long because it's not good to have something like that happening in the house when you're living with them like 24/7. So it's good that they were able to make peace and move on.
Yeah,
But
and I think that was one of the parts that was so great about last season was that the OG girls really did stick together. And like, yeah, they had some drama, like Liv and Leah had drama throughout a little bit and but for the most part, they always like had each other's backs when it came to the men. And
mhm,
I think that was always really, really nice to see. And that was something that made last season so special because that does not always happen by any means.
yeah.
And so I hope that this season will also follow suit where these OG girls can really be a sisterhood and not let the men come between them.
Yeah, I agree. I liked seeing that. I was like, is this a usual thing or was that just last season? Because I didn't watch the seasons
Yeah.
before the season 6 last year. So, but I like that
It's certainly not something that always happens, and also a lot of times the OG girls don't all make it that far. You know, a lot of them go home earlier, whereas last season, Hannah was the only one that went home early on, and then the other ones really lasted almost the entire season. So who knows if that'll even happen this season? But that was also something that made it a little unique.
yeah, for sure. Well, going into our next couple, Huda and Jeremiah. So we first see Huda's introduction saying that she's a mother and all of that, which she didn't know when she was going to want to share that with her partner, with whoever she was coupled with. But she does end up sharing it with Jeremiah, and that I feel like has caused some interesting reactions of he's seems to be a little bit scared about it, at least at this point, maybe trying to play it off that it's not a big deal, but it is for him. But from right off the bat, they were like really tight and it seemed like they were gonna be that it couple, so it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves because already we're already seeing Huda getting jealous of seeing Jeremiah kissing other girls. We're like when during the game when the bombshell Amaya came in, she chose Jeremiah as her home run, which was the only one who chose Jeremiah in any of the challenge itself because everyone was scared to bring in Jeremiah because of how Huda would react. And it goes to show that's why they didn't bring him in. But overall, I do like Huda a lot. Like I think that she definitely is a great first like one of the OG girls to be there, and I just don't know for how it's going to work out with Jeremiah because he kind of rubs you the wrong way at times. Like I want to like him, but then it also I saw online about the he cheated on his ex, and I mean he did. We saw that game that they announced that everyone's cheated basically. But so
That
that
game
was
was crazy. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if we're gonna get into that a little bit more later, but like some of
yeah.
those answers were a little concerning. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Also, speaking of that game, they also had in that question, and part of that game was a question of how many guys have you slept with in one day, or girls for the guys. But Huda has slept with two guys in one day, and then afterwards, Ace and some other guys were asking Jeremiah about how he felt about that. But Jeremiah seemed to not really care. He was like, "Well, yeah, like that's fine."
Well, he
um,
had two also. So,
yeah, he had two
who,
also.
if he was gonna say anything bad about that, be a little bit hypocritical of him to do that. But
Exactly.
I don't know. I was really confused about why the guys had such a problem with Huda's answer
Yeah.
there. Like the other guys were really trying to make him feel like that was a red flag, and it's like, well, then wouldn't he be a red flag also? Like, I just don't get it. And
I think
and
I saw online, I think it was more so Ace maybe trying to break them up because he kissed Huda during the blindfolded. So maybe Ace was just like, "Oh, maybe this is a problem for you, but it's not a problem for me," and like bringing that up.
Mm.
But I don't know, maybe it was a problem for Ace, but I don't know, it didn't make sense. It wasn't like they were together at the same time anyways, it was, like, earlier in the day and later in the day,
Well,
so
and
it's
like Austin had 3, didn't
yeah.
he?
Yeah.
So like I'm like she didn't even have the highest number of this whole game. Like there were multiple people that had 2, and so I don't understand why hers
The
was such
2
a big
doesn't
deal.
even make yeah, it shouldn't even be that big of an
No.
issue. But I know it's interesting though, there's so much here with Huda and Jeremiah, especially with
Yeah.
the kid reveal. But what are your thoughts on them overall?
Yeah, I really liked both of them. They were like 2 of my favorites,
Mhm.
in the premiere. Like, when we first introduced to both of them, I love the fact that we had a single mother in the group. I thought that was an interesting dynamic that I don't remember seeing much of in the past on Love Island, so I thought that was a really cool thing. And Jeremiah was probably one of my favorite of the guys originally. I just really kind of thought, oh, okay, this is a really I mean, he's obviously very handsome. He seemed to be a little bit more mature than some of the other guys, I felt like, and I thought that he was going to be definitely someone who a lot of the girls were going to gravitate towards originally. And yeah, I think as the more we see of Huda, I'm a little bit more, I don't know, I don't know how I feel about her because I think just the way that she treated Amaya in that challenge was way too extreme for just picking Jeremiah. Like, she just got there. She doesn't know the history of you guys. And y'all aren't even, like, it's been, what, 4 days? Like, I think the girls are allowed to explore and see how they connect with Jeremiah. I don't think there's any problem with that, especially someone new coming in. Now, in terms of her keeping her daughter a secret for so long, I think that was probably a mistake. And I don't know. I don't necessarily think it was a mistake to, like, the first day not say anything because I do think that you want the guys to see you for you and not the fact that you're a mother. I think that that would definitely, I think Jeremiah even said that if he had known that, like if she had introduced herself on day 1 and said, "Hi, I'm Huda, I'm a single mother," that he probably would have been a little bit more had a little bit of a wall up with her. And so I think just that not revealing that immediately was probably good. But I do think that it went on a little bit too long where she had all these opportunities, like where she was talking about her extra room in her apartment. And he was like, "Well, why do you have an extra room?" Like, I think that would have been a great time to say something.
Yeah.
And
And
I
then she's
just feel like,
also like, "Oh, we're the mom and dad of the group." Like
yeah, like that's wild. And first of all, have we seen anyone call them that? I don't know. Maybe they haven't, they haven't shown it, but certainly not that we've seen.
yeah.
And I think her just kind of talking about, oh, how she's so emotionally mature and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, maybe someone who's very emotionally mature would not talk about Amaya the way that she did after that challenge. But no, overall, I think that Jeremiah, I think I agree. I think that he's trying to convince himself that he's okay with it. And I think that he doesn't want to come across as somebody who, I mean, I think of, oh, who was it? Was it Emily Maynard on The Bachelor, who one of the guys, her guys called her daughter baggage,
Yeah.
and that was a huge thing. And I feel like nobody wants to come across that way. And when somebody says that they're a single mother, and I think that Jeremiah is probably trying to react in a way that makes him seem open and accepting of it, but in his head he's probably like freaking out and doesn't know what to do, what to say. Like I can totally empathize with that. Like he's 25 years old. That's a big thing to take on at 25 years old is someone else's child. And I would not begrudge him at all if he wasn't ready to do that. And I think that he needs to just be honest with how he's feeling. Like, sleep on it. I don't think he needed to say make a decision right in that moment, but sleep on it. And as soon as he does kind of come to that decision in his own mind, he needs to tell her and not try to make it work just for the sake of seeming like a good guy or not having backlash from the audience or anything like that. He just needs to be honest with her and allow her to move on and allow himself to move on.
Yeah, for sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We're probably going to get a lot more conversations with that this week. Maybe he'll talk to the guys about it too and see that side of it, which will be interesting to see what he comes to the conclusion of, if he is okay with it or if he thinks it's too much for him to handle.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait to see with that. And last but not least, we have Belle dash Bella, and Nick.
I will
And
call her Beldasha
I know
for the entire season. I'm sorry. I will do that.
Belle Dasha is just, it's fun to say that. But it was interesting to see how she didn't want to kiss anyone first to start the show. She was like, well, I'm not gonna do that till I get to know people better. So it was like, well, do you know what you signed up for here? But I mean, it did make it so that when we did see when she did finally kiss in that the game that they played, then it was like everyone was freaking out and it made it a big moment. So that was exciting to see it happen then. But I feel like that Nick wasn't interested in her because she wasn't doing that stuff, or like because she was being really reserved with that. But then Nick's changed up a little bit because he saw that happen in the challenge, but he did recouple with Sierra, so he's now juggling back and forth between Sierra and Bella. So it's going to be interesting to see who he decides to choose with that decision that we're going to have tonight in the recoupling. But
Last night,
well, last night,
as
yeah,
you were
last night.
listening to this, yeah.
We're watching it tonight, but you
We don't
will.
know what's happened. You do, maybe, if you're caught up.
We'll see what happens when that episode comes out. But hopefully, I don't know what's gonna happen. I think that he should stick to Belle Dasha at this point, but I don't know because Sierra, she's fun to watch, but I just think I like the OGs. Like I want them to go far, or for the most part. Like obviously Ulysses I didn't care about, but other OGs, like I like when they go far. And interesting just in general. The fact that she didn't want to kiss, like that added to the show too. But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting because Nick also kind of annoys me. Like I think Bella deserves someone better than Nick, but I want Bella to find someone else, so that's why I want them to match or to recouple. So then she stays and can find a different bombshell.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I feel like last episode was a breakout one for Baldasha. Like, I think that in the beginning, I was kind of like, okay, does she know what, like you said, like, does she know what show she signed up for? But like, I can also understand, like, and I appreciate somebody being on there who's a little bit more reserved in terms of that, and not just immediately like, willing to be with whatever guy and do whatever anything with whatever guy like comes across, like somebody who's, because I think that represents a lot of people who maybe wouldn't go on the show but are watching the show and kind of thinking like, whoa, all these people are just like kissing everyone, and like, yeah, that's not me and I can't relate to that. And so having someone like Baldasha is a little bit more like, okay, I can relate to being a little bit wanting to go a little bit slower. And I think that now it seems like she's gotten to know the guys and the girls and feeling a little bit more comfortable, and now she's willing to be a little bit more, put herself out there a little bit more. And so I feel like now we're seeing a more open and free Beldasha, which I like. And yeah, I agree. I don't think that she and Nick are going to last. I feel like, well, do we think that they're going to be the Kaylor and Aaron?
I don't know.
Like
I
just
don't,
up, down, left, right, like
yeah.
can't decide what they want to do with each other, and like at different times open to exploring other options, and but then like at the end of the day always come back together. I don't know. I could see it kind of, but I think that Beldash is a little bit more like, I don't think that she's gonna be as wishy-washy as Kaylor was. Like I feel like if Nick kind of treats her the same way that Aaron treated Kaylor, I don't think that she's gonna put up with it.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw Bella call out Nick for the fact
Yeah.
that he didn't tell her his true intentions and like wanting to couple up with Sierra. So, that was a good
But
moment
then she
for
got
her.
back together
But
with him.
yeah, then she did get back together and also was, like, apologizing for saying what she said, so I was like, "Wait,
Yeah.
don't take that back."
I know, that's
Um,
where I'm like,
yeah,
"Okay, is she gonna be, like, the killer?" I don't know. I think that
yeah,
it's too early, like, I could see in her mind where she's probably like, did I, like, this it was this one thing that he did, like, am I overreacting?" But then
mhm,
I could see, like, when something else happens, she could kind of really be like, "Okay, no, I was not overreacting. Now you've done this again. We're done."
yeah,
So, I could see that, or I could also see her being like, "Well, I don't have another option now, and I don't wanna go home first. So, I'm just gonna say what I need to say to make Nick choose me, and then hopefully other guys will come in that I can, explore my options with." But so I could also see that, where maybe she doesn't really mean what she's saying in terms of her apology, but just kinda trying to get him to couple up with her. So I don't know. It's interesting though. Love a love triangle on this show. Um, I feel like Sierra. I don't have any like strong feelings about Sierra yet. Either way, like I like her fine. I think that she's a good for the show. I could see her like if she kind of came in the Liv spot from last
mhm,
season, where Liv felt like an OG after a while, and
yeah,
I think right now Sierra doesn't feel like an OG, but I feel like in a couple weeks she probably will to us if she makes it that far. So yeah, I don't have any strong feelings in terms of who Nick should choose. I just don't really think that either of them should necessarily want to choose him.
yeah,
But I don't know. I don't but I also don't dislike Nick. Like he is well within his rights to make a decision, right? And to like, explore both options between Beldasha and Sierra right now. He's not exclusive with either of them. He's not cheating on either of them by doing this. I just hope that after this first recoupling, that kind of stops. I feel like once he makes his choice, he needs to stick with it.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So, we'll have to wait to see. For you guys listening to this, you already know what happens, but for us, we'll see that episode tonight. But other predictions do you think will happen next week for just in general the couples or anything else?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna guess that Austin goes home. Okay, so wait, how many people are going home in this recoupling? Do we know?
I don't know. Also, aren't there more girls than there are guys right now?
Yes, which is weird because for a long time it felt like there were more guys than girls, but now that we have two new girls, is
Yeah.
it just one guy that goes home now then? Because okay, so Ulissa left,
Yeah. Yeah.
obviously. So that put us down one girl, because Sierra and Charlie came in together. So that was one, the number stayed even.
Yeah.
So then we were down one girl. Now two girls have come in. So now I think we're up one girl,
So one
like you
girl will
said.
go home.
So only one girl goes home. So
Yeah.
Austin can't go home.
No, Austin can't go home yet.
Oh, unless it's like two girls and one guy go home, I guess.
uh,
Is that what they would do though? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I
Because
feel
there's
like
no
they both.
audience vote yet, so
Yeah,
nobody's
I
gonna
don't
be
think
like
it would
eliminated.
happen.
Okay, so it's just one girl then. Ooh, is it Beldasha?
I don't want it to be. Maybe it's Amaya.
Oh yeah, because who would choose Amaya? Because she's going for Jeremiah, and that's not gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So unless like Ace chooses her
Or Austin.
or Austin, but I feel like,
I feel like Austin would choose Belle Dasha if Nick didn't.
do you think do
Well,
they have
just to
any
like
sort of
save
connection? Yeah,
her.
I guess so. Because
Well,
like
that's
they'll
because
feel
they're
like an
more
OG
friends.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then Amaya goes home. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I just don't want Belle Dasha to go home yet.
I don't either. And Amaya, like, look, I don't like the way Huda treated Amaya after the challenge, but I don't know. I don't know why. I don't connect with Amaya. Like, I feel like she's trying too hard to like be some personality for the show that she's not, and maybe she'll kind of settle down a little bit in the coming days, like once she gets used to the show and the cameras and whatever, and like she feels more comfortable. But I feel like Hannah, I felt like was making more of an effort from what we saw to really make deeper connections with the guys, where I don't think we saw that as much from Amaya.
Yeah, I agree. So I wouldn't be sad about that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, those are my predictions. That I think that I don't even remember what I said. What did I predict?
That Maya will go
I
home.
think okay. Yeah, that Maya is gonna go home. Yeah. Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah. And I think Shelly and Ace will couple up.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I want Nick to choose Beldesha, but I do think he's gonna choose Sierra,
Yeah.
actually. And then
Uh,
someone else of like I think Austin will then choose Beldesha to stay, but everyone else
okay.
will stay the same. Except I mean, because right now Jeremiah Huda will stay together, Alondra Taylor will stay together.
Yeah.
Shelly already kind of broke up with Austin, so she'll go to Ace. So, and Ace was single, so that makes sense. Um,
Hmm.
but and then the bombshells, Charlie and Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my
Yeah.
predictions. We'll
I think
see.
those are good predictions.
Yeah,
That are probably going to be completely wrong in a week, and we're going to laugh at ourselves. But you know what? That's part of the fun.
this is week one. Right now, that's what we know. So we'll see what
Yes.
happens. But let's get into Summer House now. Then
Yes. So, all right. Well, as one show begins, unfortunately, another one has come to a close. Summer House season 9 is over, and it's been a little bit since we've covered it. So, Molly, what were your overall thoughts on this season as a whole?
I enjoyed this season. I mean, I felt just overall we got a lot of different layers in the show. In this show, we saw Lindsay have a baby. Like, I mean, she was pregnant, and then they brought back the cameras to show her, which was nice. And then also with the Paige and Craig breakup at the end of the season, also they picked back up cameras. So I feel like overall, like we got good closure as well as just overall like the drama with Jesse and Lexi and all that was going on, and just I enjoyed it. I feel like it was it was a good summer overall.
Yeah, I enjoyed the season. I would say it's not my favorite season of Summer House. Like I think last season was probably one of the best seasons of Summer House of all time,
Yeah.
and I think that this one it was fun. I thought that overall there was a good dynamic in the house going. I think that in a lot of ways this is kind of what we all hoped for with Vanderpump Rules season 11 after Scandival, that they would be able to kind of obviously look at the aftermath of it, but eventually move on from it. Whereas I think with this, like, sure, the Lindsay and Carl breakup was not Scandival level, but it was still very dramatic and could have definitely divided the house and made the house be completely toxic with the two of them there. But I think the timing of it certainly helped that they both had time to both move on. And Lindsay's pregnancy, obviously, they fully moved on.
Yeah.
But it was mentioned, it was a topic, but it wasn't the whole season. And there was still so many other things that happened that took the focus completely off of the two of them. And so I think that was really good. And we saw kind of the girls all really rally around Lindsay and they had a good dynamic. The girls overall had a pretty good summer together, and I think that that was really fun to see, and I think was kind of what we hoped the girls on Vanderpump would do with Ariana that didn't happen in any way, shape, or form. So I think that this was a good summer that, it wasn't the most dramatic, but I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I agree. I felt like the drama wasn't that much, but overall I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, let's get into kind of the different topics that we saw on both parts of this reunion. First, let's focus on Sierra and West. So, obviously, last season, Sierra and West had a bit of a thing. They had a falling out before last season's reunion, and then West did this big article that really soured their relationship. And obviously, the way that he handled things at the reunion last year also didn't help matters. So Wes said that he came into the summer thinking that he and Sierra would be able to be cordial, but he didn't realize the damage that that article had done that he was interviewed for. He apologizes for how he handled things, but Sierra calls him out for speaking about their relationship in the media quite a bit. but not having really anything to say face to face with her. So, what did you think about that? Do you agree with Sierra there that West is more vocal in the press and kind of behind her back in that way versus when they come face to face?
Yeah, I felt bad for Sierra with that because obviously, like, if she trusted Wes and wanted to maintain a friendship after they had dated for a bit, like, that just went to show that she really couldn't trust him if he would say those things and not tell her beforehand what he was doing and going to the press. And it makes sense that she's upset. Like, I'm not saying like, okay, yeah, like why is she upset? Like obviously it makes sense why she's upset for that reason. But I kind of do want them to make up because I like when Sierra and Wes get along. So for me, selfishly, I'm like, well, why are you so upset about this? But it makes sense overall. And I think Wes did apologize and like sincerely meant it too, which was nice to see that, but I just don't know how they're going to move forward if they ever will become friends.
Yeah, I agree. I think I can completely understand why Sierra's upset. I do, I really did love their dynamic last season, and I don't think that they should get back together by any means. But I do want them to be able to have fun together again.
Mhm.
And I can completely understand that this summer, was filmed like right after last season's reunion, right after that article came out, all of that. And so things were still fresh for Sierra at that moment. And I think that hopefully now that a year has passed and seemingly nothing has been done to make things worse between them that know of. And so I hope that they are able to have a better dynamic this next summer and can have fun again and that they can move past things. Because I think that look, I mean, it was funny that Wes kind of almost talked too much at this reunion versus last reunion, where he said virtually nothing, and then Paige, when he was kind of trying to explain himself with this, Paige was like, "Maybe talk less." And so I thought that was funny, but I do think that he handled it relatively well, and I think that he was apologetic and he said all the right things. I think to allow Sierra to hopefully move past their issues and can start fresh next summer.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Sierra also opens up about her family issues, her mom remarrying and her strained relationship with her father. And she explains how kind of this family dynamic has affected her own dating life and her issues with trusting men. And so I think that perspective also really helps to understand Sierra as a person better. And I think that I'm glad that she opened up about it. And I think that hopefully now even West can look at it from a little bit of a different perspective as to why Sierra is very black and white with this stuff in terms of like, you hurt me, we're done.
Yeah.
And I think that him understanding that and maybe being able to take it a little bit less personally can also help him to handle things a little bit better with her and a little more delicately and give her that time and space. And, if she does come back next summer and is a little bit more open, that hopefully he doesn't take that too far and is able to allow her to kind of take little baby steps to repair their relationship.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice that we are able to see that moment of her getting emotional there. And it just goes to show like, yeah, she's just has has some trauma from her growing up and her mom's remarrying and all that.
Yeah. Well, let's go into Imrul next. So Imrul joins the stage late and leaves early from the reunion, which is very interesting because this is normally kind of the friend of spot where like a friend of the housewives will come onto the reunion just for part of it, just for a little segment, and then not be there the rest of the time. But from what we know, Emerald was a full-time cast member, and I don't know that we've ever seen a full-time cast member who was there for the entire season, like didn't quit mid-season or come in late mid-season, but was not there for the entire reunion. And we saw that he was cut out of episodes in this during the season, that he was there for one of the weekends late in the season, but they never showed him once and just pretended like he was not there at all. And photos came out from a dinner that they were at where they did not show Imrul as being there whatsoever, but behind the scenes photos show that he was sitting right next to Amanda. Like he's right there. And they just pretended like he wasn't. And so I don't know what happened, but it makes me feel like something happened behind the scenes that producers got upset with Imrul or had to cut him out for some reason. I don't know, but it's weird.
Yeah, that is really weird. And I don't know, maybe because we also saw like the stuff about his family and like all that, but I don't know if that has anything to do with it or more just how Emerald was acting overall. But yeah, it was interesting to see that because I mean, we barely saw him on the season, even though he was a full time cast member.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I would think that this is a pretty good sign he's probably not coming back next season.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't explain it, but we got a little bit from him at this reunion. He talks about how he was uninvited from his nephew's birthday party due to kind of his this label that he got on the show and this character that they kind of showed him as being, the orgy beast, as Jesse coined him. Where really his entire story this season was about him inviting girls back to the house and having sex, and there wasn't much more to him that we saw. And it is interesting to kind of see the real life ramifications of having an edit like that when you're from a very religious family,
Mhm.
and that doesn't necessarily accept or condone that type of behavior. And it was interesting to hear about that, and really sad.
I know. Yeah, that was sad to hear. And I feel like because of that, like I really don't think Emerald is coming back again. Also because of how he was shown, but just because of how he was kind of shunned from the family, like I don't see him why he would want to go back on the show either.
Yeah, I don't think he will, but I appreciated Lexi standing up and saying, like, we probably should have, as a group, tried to get to know you better and not just, accepted the fact that this was all your personality. Like, obviously, there's more to you, and we as a group should have been a little bit more open to hearing you out and getting to know you better. So I'm glad we got that, and that was pretty much all we heard from him at this reunion, though.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into one of the main topics of this reunion, which is Jesse and Lexi. One of the main topics of the whole season, and of course, this reunion as well. So, first we get into Toegate. And Jesse and Imrul both still maintain that nothing more happened than the toe suck, but Lexi doesn't necessarily trust him. She says she thinks probably a little bit more at least happened than that. He initially lied to her about it happening at all, so it's hard for her to trust that now she's getting the full story. So, what do you think? Do you trust that that was all that happened?
I think so. Like when they were recounting what went down, it didn't seem like there was anything more that Jesse did. So I want to trust Jesse in that. I think Lexi just wanted there to be something else, maybe, but I don't think there was.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is probably all that happened. Because I mean, Imrul, like you said, like he doesn't really have a reason to lie for Jesse. They're not that close. Like I think that Imrul probably would tell the truth because I actually think if he's trying to get another season, especially him revealing at this reunion that there was something more that happened, that would be a crazy moment. That would get him to be like the main star of this reunion. And I think he probably would have taken advantage of that if he has any intention of potentially trying to get a contract for next season.
Yeah. So I gotta trust the mural here.
Yeah. Well, Jesse says that he should not have been as flirty with Sierra as he was all summer. And Lexi says that since they weren't like that when she was around, she didn't see any of that until she watched the show back and then realized, wow, they actually were pretty flirty, or at least he was very flirty with her. When behind her back all summer. So, do you think that that Jesse kind of crossed a line with how flirty he was with Sierra this summer when he was trying to form a relationship with Lexi?
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, it's hard for Lexi to see that as well. Like, her hearing about it during the summer of him being flirty, but I don't think she knew to the extent that he was doing it. And like obviously, like Jesse wasn't really holding back that much until he was really called out for it for what he was doing. So it was interesting to see that, but I mean, Jesse's just a flirty guy, so he just that's just part of his personality. So I don't think he thought in that moment he was doing anything wrong, but obviously thinking back on it, like he apologized for that, which is good. But overall, like yeah, that's not good to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Jesse, it almost felt like he was kind of doing it on purpose. I don't know. We're like he just can't. He wants like all the just the attention from all the girls, and I think that's why he, posts flirty captions on everybody's Instagram, like Amanda's Instagram, especially in Paige. Like he's that's his personality. He's just like that with everyone. I think he just likes the attention that that brings him, even if he's not trying to actually pursue a romantic connection with any of them. He
Mhm.
just kind of likes inserting himself with all of the girls, and he wants to be able to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to be able to do that and also have Lexi to actually have a full-on relationship with. And I think he's hopefully learning now that if he wants to be serious with one girl in particular, he needs to kind of let up a little bit with the flirtiness with others, especially with somebody like Lexi, who's obviously a little bit insecure, a little bit jealous, and maybe other girls wouldn't care so much, and he could kind of do that and get away with it. But clearly, Lexi was very clear about the fact that that's not something she wants.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not.
Well, Sierra calls out Lexi for coming for her while she was doing press for the show. So when Lexi was doing interviews with, Page Six and all these other outlets, she was kind of talking about how Sierra and Jesse intentionally hung out recently on the day of her birthday party, which all of the cast was invited to, and they were both invited to. And instead of coming, they hung out that day and instead and they posted pictures, and she said it was clear that it was that day. I think we've determined that potentially it was actually the day after that they hung out, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But it may not have actually been that day. But Sierra is upset that Lexi involved her in all of this press and talking negatively about Sierra when really her attention should have been on Jesse and not Sierra. And Sierra's upset that she kind of brought her into that. So do you understand why Sierra was upset about that? Do you think that Sierra kind of took it too far in being upset with Lexi about that, or made a bigger deal out of it than she needed to? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it makes sense that Sierra was upset because it wasn't like she didn't realize, like she's not close to Lexi to know that was her birthday, and she didn't really care, like they didn't have a relationship like the two of them to want to go to her birthday party. So she didn't even think about it in terms of, oh, she's just gonna hang out with Jesse, and doesn't think of it as it being intentional at all. So it makes sense that she was upset to be lumped into that because I mean Jesse and Lexi were dating, so for that it would make Lexi upset if like then Jesse was saying he wanted to be friends, but then not actually put in an effort and want to go to her birthday or go to where everyone else is going as well, or going to someplace else just in spite of her, which wasn't the case, but like that it came across that way to her. So I think Sierra has a right to be upset about it. I mean, Lexi did apologize, so that was nice to see that. But I don't really think Sierra and Lexi are ever gonna become friends either.
Yeah, well, especially now that we know Lexi is not returning for next season of Summer House, I don't think that friendship's going anywhere.
No.
I think maybe if she was coming back, if they were both coming back, like I could see them kind of bearing the hatchet, Lexi being more involved in the girls next summer, and making more of an effort to form close friendships with them. But now that she's not coming back, yeah, they're never gonna interact again, probably. And Lexi says that Jesse gaslit and isolated her from forming friendships with the rest of the girls by telling her that they all didn't like her. And so I can fully see why Lexi wasn't as open necessarily to forming close friendships with the girls, because it seems like Jesse was kind of telling her that they had no interest in doing that, and so Lexi didn't want to kind of insert herself and seem desperate to form those friendships when, according to Jesse, the girls kind of didn't have much of an interest in doing that. But I wish that she would have been more open to that and willing to kind of not just take Jesse's word for that and put herself out there a little bit more and spend more time with the girls, because that is such an important part of this show and being a part of it, especially if you're wanting to come back season after season to form those friendships and not just kind of isolate yourself with the guy that you're seeing season one.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So, doesn't it wasn't great for her that way that she wasn't even trying because I mean, I don't know what Jesse exactly was saying, if he was flat out saying they didn't like her, or she just got the sense that he was saying that, but everyone there was saying, well, they never said that to Jesse or never once said they didn't like her, so it's just some misinformation there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on to Lindsay and Carl, another relationship that has imploded, of course. Lindsay and Carl are both asked if they miss their friendship with each other. Carl says yes, especially during hard days like the anniversary of his brother's death, which we saw over the summer, and it was nice that Lindsay was there for him with that. But Lindsay says that she's not quite there yet to missing that friendship. And I understand that it's only been a year, so, or I guess a year and a half, since they called off their engagement. And eventually, if they both come back, summer after summer, which I don't know how likely that seems that Lindsay's going to be full time next season, but if they're both going to be in each other's lives for this show in some way, I could see eventually, maybe in like 2 3 years, that they can get back to their friendship. But right now, it is a little bit soon to be anything more than just cordial.
Yeah, I agree. I think because they're both in the same show, they kind of have to be in a way of like maybe start being more friendly, but overall like I think that in a normal situation like they would probably just never see each other again.
Right.
So, I mean, they're doing the best that they can, I think, in this moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But Lindsay Brock drops the bomb that she and Turner, the father of her child, put their romantic relationship on pause, which is why they don't currently live together. She says it was difficult being in a relationship with someone who was so private when her life is so public, and I can only imagine how hard that must be. I mean, I feel like we see this sometimes on these shows where somebody dates somebody who's kind of on one extreme or the other. Either they really want to be on camera or they have absolutely no interest in it. And I feel like you have to kind of find somebody who's in that happy medium of like fine to do it to support you and willing to, do as necessary, film as needed, but not too thirsty to be on camera where then you're kind of questioning their intentions of are they just trying to be famous by dating me?
Yeah, no, I agree. It didn't really seem like it was gonna work out from the get-go because of that. But it's good that they're able to co-parent really well, as Lindsay was saying that as well in the reunion, that they don't have any issues with that. So that's really what she cares about, and it's going well. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I don't think they're gonna ever get back together, but at least that they're cordial with each other.
Let's move on for now to Kyle and Amanda. Amanda is saying that Kyle is really never around and that they need to find a better balance between Kyle's work and spending time together. She's encouraging Kyle to sell Loverboy. She wants him to do that so that he can spend more time with her and not be as busy all the time. Do you whose side are you on here? Like, do you think that this is just kind of a normal relationship and Amanda needs to, figure out being okay with Kyle being so busy? Or do you agree that he needs to work on finding a better balance there?
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting to hear her say that because we don't see him like always working. I guess we're seeing him in the summer when they're there on the weekends. But obviously, it's not a good feeling to want to like have your partner then always be busy and not wanting to spend time together. But I think that because he cares so much about Loverboy, it makes sense for why he's spending so much time. And running your own business obviously takes up a lot of time. So it's like it's a hard balance for sure. So it's not like there's ever going to be a perfect mix of it all, but it makes sense that Amanda is upset about it.
Yeah, and I feel like this Kyle always being busy thing is something that we really have heard about for so many years. But yeah, like I feel like what we hear is that he works all the time. And then because he's always working when he is at the house during the summer, he goes so far in the other direction of just getting belligerently drunk. And it's because he's just kind of like, this is his escape. This is his one time where he's not working. And so he's going to like take it all the way to 100 because he's not able to let looser, to enjoy his time or just relax at all during the week. So I think that that's where she probably feels like, he did a pretty good job of not getting too drunk this summer, and it seems like he wasn't too angry, and he was able to find a little bit of a better balance there. And so now I think she's just saying like, look, if we're gonna have a kid, we need to fine you can't be working all the time, you have to be around, and we need to make our relationship a priority. And she says she's ready to have kids with somebody who's ready to have kids with her, and she
Mhm.
doesn't think Kyle's ready yet, because he is working 24/7. So I don't know, it's interesting, and I hope that they can make it work. I don't know why, I just kind of like, I really compare them to like Katie and Schwartz, where I just feel like, I don't know. I like them both as individuals, and I don't know that right now it feels like their relationship is healthy enough to make go the distance, but I hope that they can, because I really do like them both, and I want them to make it work.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they can make it work, and like I think because Amanda also was struggling with some of her mental health stuff that was putting her on a pause for wanting to have kids, but now I think she is ready to have them as long as Kyle can tame down his lifestyle, and I think that he's ready to do that as well. So hopefully they last.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, as for a relationship that did not last, lastly, let's get into Paige and Craig. Paige says that she does not believe that Craig has actually ever purchased an engagement ring. He had mentioned this previously, that he had bought her a ring before she broke up with him, and that he returned the ring the day that he was on Watch What Happens Live in December. Just, of course, great timing there. But she doesn't actually believe that that ring ever existed, and is using it as a way to get to get fans to feel bad for him and be against her, make her look like the villain. What do you think? Do you believe that there was a ring?
No. I do not believe that. I feel like, I mean, obviously, we hear Paige saying that she defended Craig for a lot of lies he's said or other things as well, that she never knew what was true or what wasn't. So I think this was just yet another lie from Craig.
Yeah, I agree. And it's sad to say that you can't believe somebody, even something as big as, did they buy an engagement ring, that could be so easy to prove or disprove. Like, and to not be able to even believe that, like, that's a sign that you should break up with your boyfriend. And she did.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sad to say, but yeah, Craig has been proven to be a complete liar on Southern Charm in the past. I mean, he said that he graduated law school, and he then said that he didn't take the bar exam, and then he did. Like, it's just like lie after lie after lie. And I think people really thought that that lying past was kind of something that was behind him. But now it really feels like, no, that never, he was just got better at hiding it.
Yeah.
And, it's yeah, that was sad to say, but Paige says that she does not regret defending Craig against Kyle since this past summer, when they were having their argument about the Spritz versus Loverboy scandal. And since he was her boyfriend at the time, so she was going to defend him. But now she says she doesn't know if he was telling the truth with his side of the story. I mean, as we just said, it's hard to say whether Craig is ever really telling the truth. I mean, another example, just recently on Southern Charm, we didn't cover Southern Charm, so we never talked about this, but Craig had this whole thing where he accused JT of saying that Miss Patricia Altschul was a bitch, and then kept showing back on camera that he never said that. The producer said we have no footage of him ever saying that, and Craig is adamant that he did, and then all the cast basically was against JT because they all believed Craig, but then when they watched the show back, they were like, wait a minute, he never said that. And so I think that's just another very recent example of this, where when you hear a side of the story from Craig, it just you have to basically see some other proof before you can believe whether it's true.
Yeah. I know. Now I'm like, well, I don't need to watch Southern Charm now because I was gonna watch it to see sides of Craig, but now I'm like, there's no point.
Yeah, at least not this past season. Was not
Yeah.
great. But Paige confirms now that Craig was, in fact, kicked out of Kyle and Amanda's wedding after previously denying it back when they were together. This was a story that came out years ago in 2021 when Kyle and Amanda had their wedding, and stories started to come out about that, about Craig being kicked out. Turns out that Danielle was the one who leaked those stories, as we found out last season. But Paige and Craig both were denying it at the time. Kyle and Amanda, I don't know that they denied it, but they very much stayed quiet and didn't confirm it ever, because they were both their friends. And now Paige can be totally honest about it. They can all be honest about it. And yeah, it happened. He was belligerently drunk. He was throwing things and yelling at people, and he was asked to leave the property. Paige asked him to apologize the next morning to Kyle and Amanda's parents, and he refused to even do that when he was sober. So uh, I just think that he is a very, very entitled human who basically does not ever think that anything he does is wrong.
Yeah. No, I felt bad for Paige having to deal with him for that long, but I think that it's good the truth is coming out now because now she doesn't have to defend him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Paige is upset that Craig never defended her against cheating rumors that surfaced after their breakup. He kind of just stayed very quiet about that, and she asked him to defend her and refute them, and never did. And that was kind of the end of their potential friendship after their breakup, where I think Paige really thought that they were going to be friends, and now he she won't even say his name and said that she will never ever speak to him again.
Yeah. I know it's wild that it was funny when Andy said, are you purposely not saying his name?" And she's like, "Yeah, you'll never hear me say it again." But I mean, I'm proud of her for that and just sticking up for herself. And I mean, obviously, Team Paige here, so I'm rooting for her and want her to find the love that she deserves. So glad that now her ex boyfriend is her ex.
Absolutely. Well, another thing that Paige is an ex from is as a cast member on Summer House. Unfortunately, very sad to hear that after the reunion aired, Paige and Lexi both announced their exits from the show. Paige, of course, is the really big surprising loss here because she's been a cast member since season 3. So 7 seasons of the show she's been on, and this is the end of her time on the show. Were you surprised to hear that? What were your initial reactions to that news?
I wasn't totally surprised. I feel like she's gotten really big now that she doesn't really need to have the show anymore to help her like get more fame or whatever. Like she has a strong brand. She now has a clothing line as well, and I think that it makes sense for her and her career. Obviously, I'm sad to see her go, but I'm gonna still be following her on Instagram and listening to Giggly Squad. So at least we still get content from her.
Yeah, no, I was so sad. I mean, I'm nervous now for the future of Summer House because Paige is such a necessary component to this cast. Like the first 2 seasons of Summer House were not great, honestly. And then Paige and Hannah came on season 3 and really like revived this show. And it's been great and getting better and better and better ever since. But I think that she was just such an important part of this mix of this cast, and without her there, I worry a little bit about it, what it's gonna be like, but, I hope that I think where I feel hopeful is that it seems like she is very willing to be on reality TV still. I think that for her, this just didn't feel like it fit her life anymore. I
Mhm.
think that she felt a little bit like she had outgrown the concept of the show, and so I could see her and Lindsay potentially, like, moving on to a show more similar to, like, Housewives of New York or something like that. I don't know that it's going to be Housewives of New York. Paige is not a housewife. Maybe if she was still with Craig, then she would have been like a better fit for that concept. But I don't know. A lot of the housewives aren't housewives. So what am I saying? But um, but I could see them like doing a show like that where they can follow their lives in the city, where Paige can follow her life, on doing her podcast and doing all these other projects that she's working on that they never really featured that much on Summer House. So I hope that Bravo is already in talks with her to do something like that, and maybe that's why she felt comfortable leaving the show now. Because I almost think that if they weren't well into talks like that, she probably would have come back for one more season. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. So that's good that hopefully we will see Paige in another show on Bravo, but I feel like it just it does make sense, and now it's interesting to see what's going to happen with Sierra and Amanda, and that's going to be
Yeah.
interesting with them coming back, but I mean so far it seems that way that they're coming back, but it's going to be definitely change the vibe.
Yeah, I am worried that they're gonna feel kind of out of place or like the mothers almost of the house, which is weird to say because Sierra's literally not even 30 yet. But yeah, I worry a little bit that they're going to feel a little bit out of place now when whatever if they bring in a bunch of young girls into the mix. But yeah, we will see what happens. I'm curious because obviously within the next month they're going to start filming that because it is Summer House, in fact.
Winner.
So they have to film during the summer. Usually they start right after July 4th, so it's not too long before they will pick cameras back up and we will see what is going on with that cast. So I'm curious to find out.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that is all we have for you today. We will be back next week, of course, with more Love Island, and not sure what other show we will cover, but we will figure that out before next week. And please be sure to follow us at Let's Chat Reality on social media and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you all for listening, and catch you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.